Of course, my attitude toward the MCU Spider-Man has been rather harsh and negative. Other than Civil War, I have not liked this version of Spider-Man that the MCU presented. I'm in the minority on that, I guess, because the films have been very successful. It's very popular. Spider-Man is a strong brand. It's not enough to just say because it's Spider-Man, because the Andrew Garfield movies failed. The first one did okay, sorta. Then the second one just bombed. And so it's not, you can't just slap Spider-Man on it and it works. Now, granted, those were following the three Tobey Maguire films, the third of which was not very good. and so maybe the current Spider-Man benefited from there being a bit of a rest on Spider-Man for a while. And then the hype of, oh, he's going to be in the Marvel Universe, which at the outset, MCU seemed like it couldn't have survived without him, because Spider-Man is the big star of Marvel and has been damn near from the beginning. The X-Men was the only thing that rivaled him for a while anyway. And that was it. I was going to say the Superman of the Marvel Universe. Superman basically took a step back to Batman. So it's Batman and Spider-Man are the two big superhero characters. Hands down, there's no arguing that. And so it stands to reason he's always going to be a big player in all of this. But the problem I had is, like, I knew Spider-Man. I was big into Spider-Man comics for a very long time. Eventually, I abandoned it because I thought the stories were getting stupid, and I still stand by that. A lot more than not did. But he was always still pretty much intact Spider-Man. They went through a lot of things where he basically became a guest star in his own title with the Spider-Verse and all that got really crazy. And you think, oh, this is going to be more of that. And it might be. Eventually, I'm guessing there's going to be a live-action Miles Morales at some point. I think there's rumors they've already cast, maybe. I'm not sure. But anyway, keeping in terms of the Tom Holland MCU Spider-Man, I thought, well, hopefully the third one will be the charm. The third time will be the charm. And certainly it had the multiverse aspect, which is very intriguing. And, of course, no doubt it helps the film greatly, and the excitement of, oh, you get to revisit all the old Spider-Man villains from the previous films and all that stuff, and how cool is that? And that Marvel is going full on into the multiverse, once again beating out DC, which is a concept DC Comics really originated with The Flash way back when. It's just, oh, man, DC just can't get their act together. They just can't get it going fast enough. And all this time, all these decades, DC was owned by a major movie studio. They could have done this a long time ago. I just don't, and I love DC, but it's just, I don't know what it is. It just, whatever. And Snyder Cut was easily one of the best superhero film of the year, I think. But this one, was it the charm? Yes. This is easily the best of the Spider-Man films that the MCU has. That being said, MCU is a bit of an asterisk because this is clearly a Sony picture. So I'm not going to spoil the plot, and I'll get to that later after it's been out a while. But this is a more mature Peter Parker. That's a good thing. There's aspects to his core character, which I've complained about, that's not in the other films. It just isn't there. That he's this obsessed, fan of superheroes and that sort of thing. It was basically the narrative all the way up to this point. And it's gone. It's not in this movie. And boy, is that a breath of fresh air. One could argue that there's elements in this as to when you get to the core of Spider-Man and Peter Parker in this film and who delivers it to him, I say, oh, that's an abandoning of the real story before woke points or whatnot. But come on. I don't think that's, I understand it because of the era we're in, but I don't think that's entirely fair. It's delivered the way it is in the narrative that it's set up through these films. and it works. And as far as Doctor Strange taking Tony Stark's place as the mentor figure in this one, because the other two films they're two Iron Man films. This is not an Iron Man film, and it's not even really a Doctor Strange film. He's very much in it. Doctor Strange, being a Steve Ditko character, is a nice element of all of this, of them two being together. And also, it does reflect from the comic books, where there was quite a bit of that, of Spider-Man turning to Doctor Strange for help in things he could not possibly deal with and stuff like that. And such is the case here. And so it all works that way. The plot points make sense. They work out. There's some sloppiness here. It gets a little too silly, to where it irritates me to some extent. But I'll forgive it, because overall the movie's strong. No, it's not a Doctor Strange film. He is a guest star in Spider-Man's film. This is Spider-Man's film, period. With a lot of help, no doubt. But that's it. And it's almost like this is the MCU part, and then bam, you're into full Sony Spider-Man. And it's a celebration of everything Sony has wrought with Spider-Man all the way throughout, and so, but I've discussed this on other people's live streams, and I've been looking at this for quite a while, and I think Spider-Man pretty much seals the deal that Sony Pictures is the if not the only one, certainly one of the first to learn the lesson of get woke, go broke. It looks like they've abandoned wokeness in favor of profit, which is very good thinking on their part. No doubt they're all run by a bunch of assholes who are deeply enmeshed in all that stuff, but eventually everyone has to obey reality. And despite what the emails revealed in the past is, yes, they're all assholes. But they've been performing much better in just being an entertainment company. So you look at the Venom films, and those are, despite the weaknesses of the second one, which I don't like as much as the first one. I think the first one was a much stronger film, but they're both basically just entertainment films. That's the whole point, and that's about it. There's a scene in the second one you could say is a woke scene, and then there's sort of the weird 180 that the characters do at the end, which I think really derails the film in my opinion. But that's just more sloppiness than anything else, probably. Which, of course, wokeness was always used as a shield for laziness and sloppiness in films and whatnot. So, yeah, okay, it's a factor. But ultimately, that's that. Then there's Ghostbusters Afterlife, which is the interesting thing about Ghostbusters is that the 2016 Ghostbusters seems to be like that's ground zero for the current era in wokeness in Hollywood for the product they put out. And what it's done to several franchises from, all the way up to Star Wars. God, good Lord, look what happened to that. And then it's like it is Ghostbusters Afterlife, the bookend of the era where it shows you the Ghostbusters film that should have been, and also elements within that film that shows you what Star Wars should have been, and so on and so forth, with the respect that's in the film and all that. So it could very well be that, yes, and how fitting would it be if that's the truth? And, well, these are Sony Pictures, So I'm thinking Sony has learned its lesson, and they're putting these films out that are just basically entertainment films. Certainly within the genre of superheroes and whatnot. That's all you got to do. So this Sony strikes again. This is the best of the, and maybe it's because I don't know what the legalities are and what they could do. A lot of that probably played a factor into the Spider-Man films, and that seems to happen a lot. There's been a lot of that with the whole business of Star Trek and whatnot. And this is the actual contractual deal that Tom Holland owed Sony a film, and this is it. So with the strength of it and what they achieved here, I'm looking forward to the next trilogy they're going to do. They've already announced they're going to do one. Holland owes 2 other films, so it's 5 in total to Marvel, so I guess that'll be like Avengers films or something like that, you know, at least one of them anyway. And then the other 3 will be Spider-Man films, and hopefully more Sony than Marvel. Who'd have thought, you know? But this is where we are. Sony learned the lesson. Disney hopefully will soon learn it. Doctor Strange was the film I was most looking forward to in future Marvel films. And then after seeing what they did with WandaVision, where Feige openly brags about how he sabotaged that film based solely on the skin and genitals of Doctor Strange. The plot was to involve him, that he pulled him out of there because of his skin and genitals, and brags about this, and then had nothing to replace him with. So the show fizzled. The D+ shows have been really just dismal failures, really. And the Marvel films, not much better. Pretty bad, really. I mean, Shang-Chi, I guess, is the strongest one they had. And then here comes Spider-Man, which he can't put his hat on that. No, he can't. So it's Sony for the win here. And well, good for them. You know, you do a good job and whatnot. You deserve the praise for it. And that's pretty much it. This is, and the way it ends in the film, it's boy, is it a good sign. It's after all these Marvel films, Spider-Man finally has arrived. So, and I never really wanted to put the blame on Tom Holland himself. I did not like the way the character was presented in the earlier films. Hopefully this gives him a chance to actually be Peter Parker in the next films he gets to do, and hopefully that's the deal. So there's a lot of really great well, not even, they're not, I was going to say Easter eggs. No, the whole thing was like the Easter eggs take front. They're not in the background, they're up front. A lot of cool stuff in the film, and a lot of them you can, even if you didn't know all the spoilers, you pretty much guessed at them and all of that. So it's a well-rounded thing, worked out very well, and deserves the win. It's not perfect. There's problems here and there, but nothing to derail it. So good on Spider-Man. So yeah, third time was the charm as far as my view goes of the MCU Spider-Man. This one was the best of the batch. So there we go. Welcome back, Spider-Man. Thanks for watching and listening. Say, while you're still here, why not like and subscribe and share with your many friends? Yes. Also, check out my mini stores in the link description below. Yes, where you can get t-shirts, hats, mugs, all those goodies with my artwork on them. Oh, yeah. And head over to indieplanet.com and pick up a copy of my comic book, Night Night. Oh, yeah. You can also catch me at my podcast, Mr Nailsin Show, on RadioMisfits.com. And you can also watch my videos on BitChute.com and now on Rumble.com. Oh, my goodness. So many places to watch me and my stuff. Oh, yeah. And if that's not enough for you, well, you can follow me on many social media platforms and say hi to your old pal, Mr. Nailsin.